Well guys, she let us down. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, and welcome to kind of an unfortunate set of events. Not too awful terrible, don't let me make it out like it's very bad or terribly bad, but I've been driving the second gen to work, been loving it other than the lack of air conditioning in the afternoon, but just I don't know if it's the sound this truck makes, how the truck runs. I don't know if it's those flux diesel injectors. I don't know, but this thing definitely is peppy. It's nothing outrageous or nothing, but I don't know if it's a sound or just like the throttle response, but it's just a blast to drive. So I've been driving the truck to work this week. And loving it other than the lack of air conditioning, like I said. So today we had an unfortunate event on our way to work. I actually just finally filled the tank so we can try and get like some fuel mileage, just see what this thing gets for fuel economy, you know, filled the tank up, and that way we can go from there. But anyway, on my way to work this morning, we lost a belt. So I was driving spiritedly, if you will, which in this thing, actually, you're not going that fast, but it's just, I don't know, like I said, something about the sound or whatever. But I was going along and I noticed the temperature starting to rise on the truck. Then it was just getting to the point where it was doing more than just rising. Wait a minute. Is that one of them lantern flies? I think it is. All right, so anyway, the temperature on the truck was starting to rise, and then it was just getting to the point of hot. So my first inkling was, hey, maybe our Flexolite fans aren't keeping up, even though they have been all week. You know, figured, hey, maybe something with the wiring, whatever. But as soon as I shut the truck off, I could hear the fans kind of winding down, so I knew that wasn't the problem. So I climbed under the hood here and was trying to figure out why is this thing kind of overheating. After I kind of figured out it wasn't the fans, I was thinking maybe there's like an air bubble in the cooling system or something, but once again, it's been fine the last couple days. Well, then I realized that our serpentine belt, which as you can see, we have another one, was actually spaghetti. So there was no belt left. There was shrapnel from it in like our tensioner and our AC compressor pulley. Just the belt kind of grenaded. So I was able to let the truck cool off and actually make it to work and then go out later and get a new belt for it and all that. And that's when I noticed our issue. And another thing, the belt didn't really strike me as a problem off the get-go because I'm used to any of my other trucks. When you lose a belt, there goes your power steering. So, you know, that's kind of a direct indication like, hey, I don't have power steering, something's going on here. Usually it's like a belt. Well, these second gens, these 24 valves at least, I imagine the 12 valves are the same, but not 100%, but the power steering pump is actually gear driven off the back of the timing cover. So that's kind of why I didn't suspect that right away. So when I put the belt on, cranked the truck over and looked at it, here's what I found. So hopefully you guys can see that there. So the belt is actually kind of wrapped up around the AC compressor pulley by one rib. When I got in the truck and started it after putting the new belt on, cranked it over, started it, shut it off, looked at it, said, man, I screwed that belt up. So took tension back off of it and started the truck, let it run, looked at it, and it was this way again. So that led me to believe that obviously there's something else going on here. So I did spin the AC compressor pulley and the tensioner pulley. Also the tensioner, when it was running, you could see moving back and forth. It's doing its job, but we have something else going on here, and that's what we need to kind of deduct tonight. Now, I do actually still have the old belt. I was going to keep it around for a spare, but the reason I got a new belt, this one's not cracked or anything, but if you guys can see, if this thing will focus, see right there, it's missing a rib. So apparently this was a problem before, and either the previous owner just cut that rib off, or it sheared itself from doing the exact same thing on the AC compressor pulley. So it's kind of unfortunate. No real harm. We were able to make it to work. The truck didn't overheat. Luckily I was keeping an eye on my gauges, and I noticed that the temperature was rising way too hot. So not having a serpentine belt, not having a water pump, our Flexolite fans could pull all the air they wanted, but none of that was going to make it to the engine because of the lack of the water pump. So we got to figure out what's going on with this and hopefully fix it. Like I said earlier, to not have an AC in this truck is the big downfall with it right now, other than the obvious belt situation. So I'm hoping that we don't need an AC compressor before we figure all that out, but only time will tell. So let's see if we can get this thing, we'll get the belt off and all that and see if we can figure out what's going on. And that's another thing, just so you guys know, with these Flexolite fans, if you guys look down there, getting the tensioner, so you can get the belt on, is a bit of a bear with these fans in here. I actually had to, as you can see, my coolant overflow bottle is loose. That's because I actually had to take it out in order to get enough swing on my ratchet to get the belt back on. So anyway, let's dive into it and see if we can figure out what's going on with this serpentine belt. So I started pulling the truck apart and I started with the idler. Figure that's the easiest thing to get to. We'll try that. This bearing is a tad tight, but it's not crunchy, nothing terrible. You can see how it's kind of worn weird. I put it both ways just to see if we had any wobble, but if we watch our indicator, if I zero this, that's close enough. But if you watch, it's not even a thousandths out, running it around the rim there, so our idler is not our problem. Now I did pull the one off the race truck, figuring, hey, it's a Cummins, they're both 24 valve, maybe it'll work, but if you look at them, they won't work because this pin is in a different spot on the two idlers. So we got to put this back on the race truck. So our idler should be replaced, but it is not the cause of the problem. So looking at the truck, the compressor was where the problem was happening. Our alternator, it has a little bit of a squeak to it, but it doesn't feel rough. It doesn't wobble or anything. Same with our water pump, no wobble. Also this old fan hub is fine, and obviously our damper is new, so we got our fluid damper in there. That's not the problem. So that led me to the compressor. So I pulled our compressor. As you can see, it looks like they had some dye in there from previously, but anyhow, I pulled it and it is, let's see here if I can get it. It has a little bit of crunch to it, not much, but I can't see any wobble or anything. So I decided to pull it off because I just wasn't sure, and we don't have AC anyway, so it's not like it's a big loss, but figured this is probably the culprit. I don't know, like I said, I can't feel any wobble, but this is where our issue was arising. So a quick way we can check that, well, not quick, that was kind of a pain to get out. There's 4 bolts that hold that thing in, and they're all down here on this bracket. The 2 bottom ones, you have to go through the frame, you almost lose your socket. Oh, it's a whole thing. But anyhow, we do have our fan or our compressor pulley delete. This is the bracket we used on the race truck when we did that, which is, these are for, I think when you get these, you actually have to get it for a 5.9. They don't make it for a 6.7, but as you guys can see, the fan pulley is the same size. So we're gonna go ahead and try this. We're gonna mount this on there, get our fan pulley back on there, get our our tensioner back on, and see if we can correct the problem just so we can run the truck. So originally we were going to try and keep all the AC stuff. Looks like for at least a little while we're definitely going to be running without AC just to see if we can correct this problem. But if this fixes it, then I know we found our solution. So then we'll have to move on to whether we want to delete this or we want to keep it. But I'm sweating now. I know what I want to do. I want to keep this bad boy. So all right, let's get our AC delete, well, temporary delete pulley installed and see if this serpentine belt will go round and round the way it should. All right, so after starting the truck, it was noticeable in sound that I could hear it actually like flopping around on the pulley. So I think this thing actually, this AC compressor pulley delete bracket, I think it actually has a little higher ridges, so the belt was coming back on, but you can see where it was starting to curl off the pulley. And what it looks like, when it comes off our damper, it comes up to the idler pulley or the tensioner, and it actually starts, it's riding right in that bare spot on the tensioner, and then it starts kind of curling it onto the edge of our AC compressor, well, what would be our AC compressor. So we checked that thing's all round and whatnot, but I didn't check to see if it's squared. So I'm wondering if maybe that thing is worn down to like a taper, so that's actually forcing the belt off. So I'm going to pull that back off and see if I can mic it, and maybe it's tapered, and maybe it actually is that, and we didn't even need to pull our AC compressor. So we'll pull that off and see if that's the case. But yeah, you can see it wrapping right up on that ridge of that pulley there. Oh, I got the pulley off. I did mic it, and it mics 3 inches exactly on either side of it, so it's not tapered. But one thing I didn't notice when I had it in 2 hands rather than a vise. Ooh. Excuse me, must be the Rona. Anyway, when I spin it, like it's really free right here, and then it hits a kind of like a chunky spot, like right there, it's not as free. So I'm thinking the idler is the problem, and that's just driving the belt off because it kind of hangs up for a second. But it was flexing, it was working. Other than that, I find it hard to believe that being just a little bit bound up's forcing the belt like that, but that's what I've found so far. So we'll have to get a new idler, throw that in tomorrow, or new tensioner. I keep calling it an idler. We'll get a new one of them and slap this baby back together, and hopefully we'll have no more belt slap. All right, so it is the following day. I picked up a new tensioner from the local auto parts store. Not real happy that it is plastic, but it's what they had, and I just want to get this thing back together, see if we solved our problem. So our old tensioner, a bit tough to turn. It's not that awful bad, it's just got some tight spots, but yeah, once you get the new one, it definitely shows you how much tighter this old one is. So we're gonna throw the new tensioner on, get the belt on, and then see if that solves our little chattering belt and jumping belt issue. I really hope it does, because if it doesn't, we're gonna have to kind of jump back and punt. But I got the area where it mounts all cleaned up just to make sure there wasn't really any like bad corrosion or anything. So we're gonna get the new one on. We're gonna see what happens, and hopefully we will be putting the second gen back together tonight. Still haven't decided what I'm doing with the AC compressor since it's out, but I think I will just run. If it's solved, we'll probably just run the delete pulley for now and just see how everything reacts, and then decide later about the AC. Like I said, I would like to keep it because I like driving the truck, but you know how that goes. So anyway, let's get this tensioner in, get the belt on, and hope it works. Alright, so I think we have our belt issue solved. So it was the tensioner causing our problem. We didn't actually have to pull our AC compressor. But like I said, that old one, it felt a little bad, but it didn't feel like, it wasn't super crunchy, like the bearing completely went or anything like that. But it was enough to throw our belt off. So I actually revved it up this time. Last night when we were having the issue, it was just sitting here idling, and even when I had, before I had messed with the tensioner or the AC compressor, just starting the truck was enough to run the belt over the rib here, like where the AC condenser would have been, but our delete bracket is. So that is all good there. I'm glad we were able to solve that. So now we just need to figure out what to do with our AC condenser. our AC condenser. Our AC compressor, I haven't decided yet. Let's see here. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do for the time being, we'll put the intercooler piping back on. We'll run the truck for, this week going to work and see if we have any more issues with it. So let's get the intercooler piping on, and this will be job done. And then, because really, if we're going to put the AC compressor back on, I probably should get a new AC compressor. Probably should get a new condenser. I think that's a condenser. But the big problem with these things with the AC, and it's kind of funny, the blue truck Veronica actually has never even been recharged with AC. Never been recharged. It's never been recharged with refrigerant for the AC system, but I believe it is the evaporator or whatever that's hard to get to under the dash, which I might not even have the terminology correct, but one of those, under the dash or whatever is notorious for going bad in these things. That's why that thing is such a gem, because you just don't find that in these trucks. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to put that intercooler piping on, make sure our belt issue is good, and then we will revisit the AC situation later, because I would really like to get, all new stuff. And eventually the truck does need a dash, so we got to get in there anyway. So we might just kind of run without AC for the time being. Should I pull this off? Should I? Yeah, we're just going to leave all the AC stuff there for now. Maybe we'll pull it off later and then put it back on like over the winter or something. But we're just going to make sure our belt's good. So sorry for rambling on about that air conditioning system. But yeah, let's get our boost tube back on and call this job done. So our boost tube's back in, everything is good. Our AC lines are zip tied up out of the way till we decide what we're doing, which, like I said, I don't know 100% what I want to do. I would like to keep AC on the truck. There's no reason to delete it right now. But that being said, since it is disconnected, there's no compressor in there, I might try and fiddle with trying to hide this stuff back here, which we'll have to get rid of this little like support bracket, which I don't think is a big deal. But then we'd also have to figure out how to get our transmission oil cooler, in here as well, just to give it that look with the intercooler sticking out, which if we got rid of this honeycomb grill, I think would look pretty sharp. It'd be kind of unsuspecting with the look of the rest of the truck. So anyway, guys, we got our issue solved. Hopefully this thing won't let us down again. It was something minor, nothing major at all. If honestly I would have put that other belt back on that was missing the rib, it probably wouldn't have shown, reared its head for quite a while. So we got it figured out. I did take the AC compressor off, but when I didn't have to. But did the tensioner need replace? Yes, absolutely. I mean, obviously that was our issue. But did I think it needed replaced before? Yeah, but the auto parts store wasn't open, and I wanted to try and figure it out last night, which ended up not happening. Well, I guess it did once we put that bracket on there, but we kind of narrowed it down to what the issue was. You know what? That just happens sometimes. We're not perfect. I'm not a diesel mechanic or a car mechanic by trade, so some of that stuff, a normal car mechanic would be like, oh yeah, you gotta get a new one of these, this is definitely a problem. I don't know, like I said, it was a little tight, but it was nothing terrible. It wasn't wobbly, but it was enough to throw the belt off. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. We got the second gen back in working order. I'll start driving this thing to work again. That way we can get some fuel economy numbers. I'm really curious to see. You've always heard, or I've always heard, people with 12 valves, 24. I get 20 miles to the gallon and blah, blah, blah. First off, the only thing I ever got that kind of fuel economy in was my diesel Jettas, and that's because those things were just amazing. If you want an economy machine, that's the one to get. Screw all this electric and hybrid crap. But anyhow, I digress. I just want to see what this thing gets fuel economy wise. I do have a heavy foot, but it being a two-wheel drive, us having a little bit more oomph than factory, I really just want to see what we get, and I'm curious. So I'll share that with you guys as we go through it. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage, get the wrenching on your truck.